Dear students, dear students, in this video, we'll be seeing the first experiment of the Database Management Systems Lab. Now, DBMS is an IPCC subject which includes lab in it. Therefore, we'll be seeing the first experiment of this IPCC DBMS lab. I'm Amreen Sabha, Assistant Professor, Department of Data Science. We will see what is the course outcome of this particular lab. Here, the course outcome says that you'll be learning the basic elements of a relational DBMS, that is, what is an entity attribute and all of these things. Design entity relationship for the given scenario. You'll be learning how to draw an ER diagram on your own, including how many entities are there. You'll be able to recognize how many attributes will be there. All of these things will be learned. You'll be learning the basics and the advances of SQL, plus how to apply normalization once you have learned how to create an database, how to create tables so that you will have normalization applied to those tables and to the database. And also you will be able to learn the real world applications of the databases. For example, it might be some ticket booking system. You'll get an idea of how these booking systems or these DBMS systems or softwares were created. Plus, you'll also understand the basic concepts of NoSQL databases. So this is the course outcomes of this particular lab. Moving ahead, we'll see what is in the first experiment and what we are going to do here in the first experiment. The syllabus has told us to create a table called employee and execute the following. So we have to create a table named as employee, and here it gives employee, but here we have attributes inside the table that we had to give. These are the attributes: employee number, employee name, job, manager number, salary, and commission. So we need to give these many attributes. I think we have 6 attributes here. Yes, and for the table employee, we will have to create all these 6 attributes. So here it says we need to create a user and grant all the permissions to the user. We will see how to do that first. Then insert any 3 records. Now, after creating the employee table, we have to put 3 records for the employee table. And after that, we have to use rollback. Here it says we have to use rollback. Now, what is rollback? We will be discussing again when we are executing the first experiment. And after doing that, we'll also check the result of what has happened. And we'll be adding primary key constraint. Now we know why we add primary key constraint. We add primary key constraint so that we want that attribute or that complete column to be unique. And there should be no duplicate values, which is why we put primary key constraint. And therefore, we will also add primary key constraint to the tables. We will see what is a not, and also we have to add not null constraint to the employee. That is, by default, if you do not mention not null while table creation, it will be considering the attribute as null. But if you want any constraint to be not null, you have to specify it during table creation, or else you need to later modify the table, alter the table. So we will see how to do that as well and add not null to the attributes. And after adding not null to a few of the attributes, we have to insert the null values. That is, if we insert the null values to the employee table, we will be able to see whether that not null constraint is applied and it is not accepting null values. So which is why we have to do the fourth which is why we have to do the fourth question here and see whether it is working fine for us. Now let us go to the MySQL command line. So I have the MySQL command line open here. I have entered the password and therefore I am getting the MySQL command line here. Now, first and foremost, what we have to do is we have to create a database so that we we can store the entire table and all of this related to the employee in the same database. Therefore, we'll first create a database. And the command to create a database is create database. Because it's the first lab experiment, I will put lab experiment lab exp1 as my first database, as the database that I'm creating now. And now that I have created the database, I have to see whether the database has created, just to verify we will use the show database command. Show databases. And here's the list of databases. Now I think so. We just created lab experiment one, and here it is listed down here, lab experiment one as the database. Now we have to tell the MySQL that we are using the lab experiment one to create a few tables. So we will have to use the query use lab experiment one. Use lab exp1, and then it says database changed. This message is displayed, which means now we are using lab experiment one as a database. And now any changes made will be stored in this same database, lab experiment one. Now, before making a few changes, let us see what is the first thing they have told us here in the experiment one. In the experiment one, first thing that they have told us is we need to create an employee table and execute the following. But before that, I think so we will see the first sub question here. The first sub question says create a user and grant all the permissions to the user. So we will first create a user and grant all the permissions to the user and check whether the user is getting created and how and what is the query to create a user. All right. So the query to create a user is nothing but we will have to give the query as create user. Create user. Now, whatever username you want to give, you can keep it. So just for being very formal, I'll be keeping the name of the user to be uh, data science. All right. So I'm creating the name as data science. As you can see, create user data science. I have put it in single quotes, and then I'm going to use at the rate of, and then I'll put localhost. All right. So I'm putting localhost. We have to put localhost because we are using the server at the local machine. So localhost is going to be mentioning, we have to mention it there at localhost, and then we have to give it as identified by. Identified by. Now, whatever password you want to give, you'll have to give that password here. So now I'll be giving some password like admin123. All right. Now I'll end it with a semicolon. It says query OK, which means the user is created. Now, here in the first experiment, in the first sub question, it is telling us to create a user and grant all the permissions to the user. Now, we have created the user, but we have not given the permissions to that user. So now we'll be giving the permissions to the user. Again, for giving the permissions, we have to use the query grant all privileges. Privileges in the sense we're giving all the permissions. Privileges. Grant all privileges on. We are giving as, because it is all privileges and not one specific or two specific privileges, we're going to use star dot star. So this star dot star mentions that you're giving every single permission, insert, delete, modify, alter, every privilege for this particular user that you have created, for whom we are going to give all these permissions to the user that we just created. The user that we just created was data science. So we will give the same thing in single quotes now, data science, right? Yes. So grant all privileges on star dot star to data science in single quotes with grant option. Okay. With grant option. All right. So now, uh, there is some error. We'll see what error it is. You are not allowed to create a user with grant. Okay. Okay, we forgot to mention localhost, which is why we are getting that error. Okay, just data science, we cannot create. We have to create it, mentioning it as localhost. So we will also mention localhost there. Now I think we should get the query properly. Yes, now it says query okay and 0 rows affected. All right. So we have created a user and we have given all the permissions according to the first sub question in our experiment one. But how do we get to know that we have given the permissions and the user has been really created? How to check whether the user is created or not? Okay. So first we will check if all the permissions have been given to data science or not. Okay. So the user data science. So we'll tell show grants for data science, show grants for data science at localhost. So this is the query to check whether the grants have been all the grants have been or all the permissions have been given. Now, if you can see grants for data science at localhost is displayed here, and then it is showing you all the grants that it is giving, like select, insert, update, delete, every single operation is been given permission for this particular user data science. All right. So this is how we verify whether the permissions that we have given have been applied or not. Now that we have verified that all these permissions are given, we will see is the user data science that we created is listed or not. All right. So for that, we will put the query as select user from MySQL, because we're using MySQL dot and space user. All right. So here, as you can see, we created the user data science. For that, we also gave permissions, and I think so data science is listed here. If you can see it, the user data science is listed here, right? So this is the answer, or this is how we complete the first subquery of the first experiment. Now, moving ahead, we have to create a table called employee, and then we will have to create all these attributes and then insert 3 records for the table. So here we have these attributes: employee number, e-name, job, manager number, salary, and commission. So we'll be creating the database. We'll be creating a record or table here. So now create a table. So we have to create a table, right? Create table. So that they have asked us to create the table as employee. So we'll be creating the table as employee. Create table employee. And then the first attribute they have given is employee number, EMP number. Now, because it is a number, let us keep it as an integer. So I will take it as int, and it can go up to 4 digits or 3 digits. So I'll take it as 4. Next, we have employee name or e-name. Now, for e-name, we need to use the data type as varchar because we are including characters into it. So we'll put varchar up to 30 letters or 30 digits. Next, after e-name, I think so you have a job here. So we'll also create the job designation. So job also will be varchar, say maybe up to 20 characters. Next, we will have manager number, salary and commission. Again, I think manager number, we'll give it as manager number. Manager number, I want to keep it as varchar because I want to also use letters and numbers together. So we'll put manager number as varchar of 5. All right. And next we'll put the salary and commission both in integer. Salary in integer of 7 digits, salary looks good. So we'll put 7. And commission. Commission also we'll put it as integer. 5-digit commission looks good. All right. So now I hope we have created a table as given in the experiment 1 with all the attributes, and along with attributes, we have given their respective data types as well. Now we'll end it with a semicolon and see whether, okay, there is some error in the 5th line. That is, we have given a space between int and 5, which is why the error is being there. But let us, 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 Now the error is gone, probably. Okay. Now it says that you have an error in the SQL syntax. Check the manual. Uh, varchar 5. It says there is an error here. Your manager number. All right. For manager number, you're not supposed to use the hyphen. We can use the underscore. I I tried inserting the underscore, but I don't know. I ended up. Okay. Let us create the employee table again. All right. So here we have to change the manager number. Instead of giving the hyphen there, we need to use the underscore. Now I think so we will not get any error. After manager number, we will have to put the salary and the commission, right? Salary int of 7, int of 7, and then commission. Commission int of 5. All right. Now let us check. Yes. Now query, it says query okay and 0 rows affected, which means our table is now successfully created. How to verify that if the table is created successfully? We'll be describing the table. Describe table employee. So if you describe the table employee, you can see that employee participants null. Okay. So when you describe employee, now it says employee number is created, name, job, manager number, salary, commission. Its data type is listed here. It says null for all the attributes, but here we have to change a few things. We will modify this table and put some constraints, and also we'll add the primary key. But now I think so we have successfully created the table. Now after creating the table successfully, we will have to insert 3 values. So here we are inserting values. Insert into, now what is the table name? Employee. So we are using insert into employee values, right? So because the first value is integer, we can just use it as 001, and then e name. E name is we can just put formally anything. Ramesh, employee name. Job, we will put data analyst, right? After that, we have the manager number, and we'll be giving it as M001. Okay, M001, right? And we'll put the salary. So her salary she is around 1,50,000. Okay. Because it is an integer, I think we can skip the single quotes or double quotes. We can just use the numbers. And his commission will be around, say, 20,000. All right. I think we have given all the values for all the attributes. Now it says query okay, 0 rows affected. We'll use the same way. We'll put one more Ramesh, and then we'll put Kavya. We'll put the job as data scientist. Okay. And stock 1,50,000. Her salary is 2 lakhs, and her commission is 50,000. So, all right. And this is also telling query okay. And next we will create one more value, because in the experiment it says that we have to create 3 values. So here 003, Kiran. Again, we'll put it as data scientist, but I will be changing the number here as M002. Okay. And then we'll keep it as 3 lakh and we'll keep the value here as 60,000. And I think 3 rows have been created, and now we will display those 3 rows with this query. Select star from employee. Now, if you can see here, we have successfully inserted 3 rows of data into the table employee. Now, moving ahead, in this, we have created user and we have given all the permissions to the user. First subquery was successfully executed. Second subquery now has been successfully executed. That is, we have inserted the 3 records. Now, we will have to use rollback and check the result. Now, to include rollback, okay, we will have to use begin or start transaction. So I'll just use begin. Now I'll put one more row of data. And the data that I'm including is 004, employee ID 004. And then instead of Kiran, it will be like somebody called Soumya and data scientist as well. So here it will be 003, it will be 5 lakhs, and here it will be 80,000. I think even this data is now given as a row, and as we can see, we can display here, and we have displayed the 4th row of Soumya being the 4th e-name or the employee name. But now I'm going to use rollback and check whether whatever we have made the changes after we began or started the transaction. Now begin means we are starting a transaction, all right? So now I think we can roll back. It says query okay 0 is affected, and again if you select star from employee, you can see from the begin state to the rollback state whatever changes we have done, that is we inserted one row that has been deleted, that is rollback. Rollback in the sense whatever changes you have made from the starting of the transaction, those changes will be, those changes will be removed, or we're not going to make those changes permanent. So we have done rollback, and successfully this 4th entry has been deleted from there. Now we have seen how rollback works as well. Moving on, we will add primary key constraint and not null constraint to the employee table. And after including primary key and not null, we will be verifying the table with by inserting the null values to the table. Now, what is primary key? Primary key is basically, we'll be using it for the primary key will be basically used for what? We'll be using it to keep the column or the entire attribute unique. That is, will not have any duplicate values. And not null will be using because we are going to use the, we're not going to leave any data entry empty. We are going to insert data for every single column. That is the meaning of not null, right? So we'll be seeing how we'll be doing that not null. Now that we have created the table as employee, next we will create a table called as just emp. Okay, we'll just create the table as emp, and we will see how not null values can be added. Create table m, create table m, right? We'll keep the attributes as similar. Employee number as integer of 4. Employee name as varchar of 30. Job varchar of 20. Manager number varchar of 5. And then salary as integer of 8. And commission as integer of 5. Right. Now we will check. Okay, it says 0 rows affected by 3 warnings. Here again we have created the same table, but now what I am going to do is we'll put table employee as employee number as unique. That is, employee number should be unique. Okay, so instead of emp, now we'll be creating create table. Okay, now we'll be create table emp1. Okay, employee one. We are creating a new table so that we can put some attributes, some constraints into this table. So here for employee number int of 4, we put primary key constraint. Primary key. All right. Next, you have ename. For this, we will put not null. Okay. We are supposed to also put not null constraint. So we'll put not null here. For job, we'll put it as we can even change the job to not null. We'll change this attribute as well. And next we'll put manager number, let it be. Salary, commission. All right. Now here we can see that we have included the primary key for employee number, and for ename and job we have given not null constraints. All right. So which means if there is a primary key, we can't repeat the numbers or the employee numbers. For ename, we cannot leave it null or we cannot leave it empty. Even for varchar job, we have used not null. So which means we cannot leave it as empty. Now we will execute this. It says query okay. We can neglect the warnings. If you describe emp1, you can see the changes here. For null, employee number is not null because it's a primary key, it will automatically be not null. And ename is also not null. Job is also not null. But other attributes, we have not mentioned any constraints, so they are yes for null. All right. Now that we have seen the description of employee one, we'll try inserting values and we'll check. Okay. So insert. All right. Insert into, instead of employee one, we'll put emp1, right? Because we have created the table as emp1. 001 will be Soumya now. And these are the details of her. All right. Now it says query one. Okay. Now if I put 001 again for say some next user, say Kiran, and I'm having the same value as 001. See what it displays now. See, it says duplicate entry 1 for key and primary. All right. So which means that when you have a primary key, you cannot give duplicate values, right? Now we'll try making the changes and then enter the value. 001 will be changed to 002 and let it be Kiran and other values be there. Now instead of giving Kiran, we will just remove Kiran and we'll put null here. Okay. We'll put null. We will see what it displays. Column ename cannot be null. Yes, we got this because we have given the constraint as not null, which means you cannot give it a null or empty. But in the same way, instead of putting ename as null, if I put salary as null, it will be accepting because we have not given any not null constraints for the salary, right? So here I'll give Kiran, but for Kiran, we'll not put the salary. We'll just remove the salary and include null here. Now it doesn't give you any warning or error because see query okay. Because salary is accepting null values. It is accepting empty values because we have not given any not null constraint on that. Now if we select star from emp1, now if we see You can see here under Kiran's salary, there is null displayed, which means there is no value hit there. All right. So I hope we understood the concept of primary key and not null, and also how to create table, how to create user and grant permissions for those users, and other queries of how to display the table and the contents of the table and everything. I hope this video serves you well. This is me signing off. Thank you.